Hi, Ultimate Wellness community. Today I am joined by Brandon Amalani, founder of Blushield USA, an advanced EMF protection technology that replicates nature's coherent, ever-changing frequencies using scalar energy fields. And we are honored to have Blushield as a partner at the Ultimate Wellness Conference at Faena Forum in Miami Beach on September 26, 27, 28, and Brandon himself as a speaker, and excited to learn from this advanced company, biohacking technology. We have a perfect selection of advanced biohacking technologies at our expo space, and we invite all of you explore during this exciting, amazing weekend, 3-day longevity conference, the most spiritual and the most experiential conference, because along with advanced biohacking technologies, we also provide immersive experiences such as spiritual meditations, breath work, sound healing, intuition method, and many other workshops. So this is not only a great opportunity for business development, but also provides a great retreat for all your family. You even can take your kids because we are going to have special room with experiences for kids. Hi, Brandon. Thank you for joining us.
Good to be here. Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Brandon, as far as I know, you're also expert in herbalism, Tai Chi, Japanese folk medicine, electromagnetics, and some esoteric practices with over 25 years of experience. So first of all, before we even talk about your amazing technology, I would like to know how your other experience in those esoteric practices, herbalism, inspired you and maybe directed your way to create Blushield. Because obviously, I feel like you have this passion to nature, not only to technologies. And I also always say that we need this harmonious combination of advanced technologies and natural approach. So I'm curious to know a little bit more about your background, not only at Blushield, and how it inspires you.
Yeah, that's a great question and kind of a long story. I mean, ever since a young age, I was really interested in, just nature and reality, consciousness, the big questions, why are we here?
Yes, yes.
To make a really long story short, I really got into nutrition and herbalism and things that I felt when I was young really helped enhance my level of consciousness and, just how I live my life, and how I feel on a day-to-day basis and how that affects everything in our life. And I eventually kind of got into traditional Chinese medicine from a Japanese lineage perspective. So tracing back herbalism and studying like plant medicines and stuff like this, you realize kind of like some of the oldest cultures, like the Ayurvedic culture, and developed a lot of these really sophisticated natural methodologies and understandings of plant botanicals that eventually evolved and migrated to Tibet, and then they put their own influence, spin, culture on it, and then that made its way to China and then over to Japan, where Japanese people integrated traditional Chinese medicine concepts of five-element theory, yin and yang, with their indigenous folk medicine. So that really kind of gave me a lens to like how we view reality and how we view health and wellness and consciousness, because really, like, we exist on multiple different levels. We exist physically, of course, but also emotionally, mentally, spiritually, psychically, etherically. We have these different experiences that we see evidence for in nature.
Yeah,
And
at Ultimate Wellness Project, we also emphasize this holistic approach to our health, and it has to take into consideration spirit, emotional, mind, body connection. So I obviously understand what do you mean. And then, inspired by this knowledge, you created, or who is actually inventor of Blushield technology?
that's actually a gentleman by the name of Mark Langdon. And having kind of this background in traditional Chinese medicine and under the understanding that the body is, physiochemical, but also electrochemical.
Yeah, electric.
Understanding the energetics of things like EMF has always been kind of an issue. It's these exogenous signals that affect how our endogenous communication and these hormonal cascades and neuronal functioning and all this kind of stuff happens or is impacted by that in the body. So for a number of years, looking into all sorts of things, passive devices, static devices, grounding, nature therapy, forest bathing, all of this kind of things. I hadn't really found a solution that really addressed the modern age, something that's like checked off all my boxes until I found Blushield in 2017. So I got to know the inventor of Blushield and got to experience firsthand the effects in real life. And over the years, we've had just thousands of anecdotal.
Was it created in the US?
It was actually in New Zealand.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So
Yeah,
I was pretty impressed that, it was making a name for itself in Australia and New Zealand area, but nobody had heard of it over here. So that's when I got involved in trying to help Mark, spread the word about this particular technology. And again, I try and look at full spectrum health. That's my general approach to life. Every hammer sees everything as a nail, right? So a lot of EMF people think EMF's the only reason that they're having problems with their health, or nutrition people think it's just all about what you ate or didn't eat, or exercise therapists will talk about you're not getting enough movement, but it's really kind of all of these things put together. But the big piece of the pie that I saw that was missing was the EMF equation, because it's something that's affecting us all the time. We don't really get a vote if a cell tower goes up in our area, or we have to use Wi-Fi routers to connect and even have this conversation right now. So there needed to be a solution that was dynamic and effective long term, that followed natural laws and principles.
Yes, right. In modern life, we cannot avoid using these technologies, and we just can protect ourselves. Can you please explain how Blushield scalar energy technology different from traditional EMF blocking devices? Because as far as I understand, your concept is totally different from other traditional, not always effective devices, because they're trying to block EMF field, and you do an opposite. Your device creates some natural, coherent, ever-changing frequencies. We just kind of can tune in with them instead of tuning in with those harmful EMF frequencies. And this is based on parasympathetic response. So once we tune in, once we are stressed by any kind of distress, our body switches to sympathetic state, fight and flight, and we always want to bring our body to balance and activate this parasympathetic autonomic nervous system mode. Yes, so we have sympathetic, parasympathetic, and then to tune into parasympathetic, we need some help. And looks like Blushield can provide us this help to tune into more like natural frequencies. So briefly, please explain. So EMF, like frequencies, electromagnetic frequencies, they can be harmful and they can be actually healing, right? Those natural frequencies. And the main difference that those harmful EMF electromagnetic fields from electronic devices. First of all, what are the most common electronic devices? Obviously, everyone knows, but let's explain what influences us.
Yeah, so what we like to term as non-native EMF, or man-made electromagnetic frequencies, that are really that principle that you're talking about, which is incoherent. So coherent energy, we see examples of in nature: the sun, the Earth's electromagnetic field, lightning, these types of magnetic.
When we do grounding, or we just go, I don't know, even just swim in the ocean, we tune into these Mother Earth frequencies, which are healing frequencies. And then what happened to us when we expose to those EMFs?
Well, since AM radio, not a lot of people realize a lot of people had a lot of complications and health issues when AM radio started becoming more prevalent. We see kind of these incoherent signals from Wi-Fi routers, computers, cell towers, all these like radio frequency. It's not necessarily that the informational carrier wave that transmits the signal is actually bad or anything. It's when you start backing these informational wave packets on top of that, it creates this incoherent noise essentially that your cells pick up on. And your cells are very much transceivers. So they transmit information to the environment and they receive information from the environment. And what happens when we're exposed to high levels of radio frequency and incoherent noise essentially is that it disrupts the signaling. Dr. Martin Paul actually kind of paved the way as far as our understanding of the voltage-gated calcium channels, and then just basically demonstrated that when we're exposed to radio frequency, our voltage-gated calcium channels flood the system with 100 times the amount of calcium as normal. And you can imagine the cascade effect that has downstream of how many
I can imagine we can
Yeah.
even get this pineal gland calcification, which is rhythmic master of our hormonal balance and our endocrine system. So calcification, which is excess calcium, there really can be really harmful for our body. So you mean that calcium level increase when we constantly exposed to EMFs?
Yes, that's correct. And
Oh,
that
cool.
specific calcium, yeah, has a lot of downstream negative effects on the body on a lot of different levels. And nobody really understands why that process happens inherently. Some people speculate, that it has to do with acidification in the body trying to balance the natural pH endogenously with our immune response. And that's what we found with the research with Blushield primarily is that it's very much my best analogy that I've been able to come up with is like a radio. If you're in your car and you're tuned a radio, you're tuning your coil of your radio to a specific carrier signal, and that carrier signal has the song or the information or the code on it that your body or the radio actually transmits a sound and a song. So you can only really listen to one radio station at a time. It doesn't mean that all the other radio waves aren't bouncing around the area. It certainly is, but you're tuned in and more coherent with that specific carrier signal. So what Blushield is essentially doing is it's sending out a signal in the environment that becomes the dominant signal that's changing all the time that the body entrains with. So it stops mounting an immune response to this invisible threat that it can never really manage or deal with in the traditional sense with, bacteria, yeast, mold, fungus, things in the environment that we have to kind of combat with our immune system. We can tag it and identify it and really create a proper immune response to that. But with electromagnetic signals, it doesn't really work that way.
Well, so we constantly trigger our immune system to protect us from such a stressor as EMFs, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I understand. It's really too much load on our body, especially in big cities, especially when we are surrounded by many towers and antennas. I recently checked my own exposure, following that you suggest on your website. Go to antenna search, and I looked how many towers in my area, and I found it's more than 75 and more than 500 antennas, which is a lot. I think it's a lot, and that's why sometimes I feel overwhelmed with something triggering me, and I understand that we are many of us very intuitive, and if we even take phone, we can notice that our breath starts like more frequent, not so deep breathing, and it means that our body recognizes even our phone as some stressor. So I can say that I feel this stress from EMS for sure. So once again, can you explain how Blushield scalar energy technology different from traditional EMF blocking devices? I just
Sure.
want to explain because for me it's always new discovery, and now I understand this is totally different approach.
Yeah, so it's different in a lot of different ways. So let's start with like passive versus active. So a lot of companies produce devices that are passive, meaning they just sit there, they're not powered, and they claim to, harmonize the EMF in the environment.
Yeah, many devices we don't even need to plug in. So your device we need to plug in, yes? So
Correct.
it needs electricity. Yeah.
Because you need enough power to be the dominant signal in the environment. It's like tuning into that
Okay.
radio signal again. It's you want your body to entrain with that and really not pay attention to the noise. the EMF that's basically all around us all the time. So there's that aspect. So there's also powered devices like Blushield that use the mains current to generate a field effect. A lot of those are static though, so that's where we're like active and dynamic, meaning that it's always changing and moving in rhythms. If you look in nature, frequencies that you're exposed to, even light frequencies throughout the day, everything's always changing. If you're walking through a forest, all the animals, plants, wind moving through leaves, all these things, the rushing of water, ocean waves, all these things have varying and modulating signal transmission, if you want to look at it that way. So we needed to come up with a complex layerment of code that replicates those processes so your body doesn't really start to tune things out. If you have a device that's not dynamic and not changing in the proper way, it's like doing the same workout over and over. It'll get you to a certain level of strength, but then it becomes easy, and then it doesn't create that hormesis or that biological response anymore. So the carrier signal is really unique when we talk about scalar energy. Not a lot of people really understand that, and really what we're doing is a digital form. Analog ultimately would be a lot smoother, but that would be a massive device to be able to run all these layers of code simultaneously as you're creating field or charge collapse. So basically, Blueshield's creating a field effect and using a carrier signal that's this kind of scalar energy, and it's imprinted all these different frequencies that basically combine two different principles, like randomization. So you have chaos and order. So you have randomization where it's all changing within a specific range, but then you also have coherence. You have this kind of natural mathematics, golden ratio, these kind of patterns geometrically or spatially that you see in nature combined into this field, and the body seems to respond a lot better to. And you can use the same principles of Blushield with a radio frequency transmission, like a Rife machine or something like this, where you use a carrier signal and then you're piggybacking coherent energy on top of it. But we found that scalar is more biocompatible, it's safer for more people, and the body, because it's a scalar transceiver, it's always, again, transmitting informational fields and receiving informational fields. It seems to be more responsive to this type of energy than magnetic fields, radio frequencies, and so on.
So scalar energy, it's created by device, but its characteristics meet natural energy characteristics, something like that.
Well,
So
the scalar
scalar.
energy is empty. It's not frequency, so it's absent. It's ab extra and antecedent to psychophysicality. So it's outside, and it's hard for people to wrap their minds around it because we want to quantify it, we want to stamp it and burn it and put it under a microscope and isolate it. But by definition, you can't do that. It's just outside, but it is the fabric. It's the medium by which all things are interconnected in the electromagnetic spectrum of physicality. So what you do is you basically, and a lot of times, like the old school people, they would create phase collapse or charge collapse or counter spatial discharges through using high voltage coils. And there's a lot of old technology that's actually quite really good. Blushield just uses like microprocessor technology, and you really don't need that high voltage when you're using something. I don't want to use the word homeopathic, but it's closest to that in nature, where it's just so low power that it has an advanced effect, kind of like taking something, diluting it with homeopathy to where there's only an energetic vibration. There's no physical substance, but it happens to have physiological effects on the body because the body kind of understands and recognizes it. So similarly, we can use very low power and a complex multiple waveform output on a scalar carrier signal to actually affect the body in pretty dramatic ways that we've shown in our clinical independent review board clinical trial that we recently did.
Great. What was the most surprising findings when you measured some biomarkers after exposure to Blushield device, or after some time when people use it at home? So what are findings at your research, and what biomarkers actually did you measure? Because what we can measure when our body is stressed, HRV, what else? Biofield, probably We
Probably the
can
most
look at our blood, live blood analysis, probably. What else? So those markers usually are helpful when we want to assess stress on our body. So what's your company used?
So, in our independent review board clinical trial, probably the most significant finding was the fact that we got metrics on DNA methylation. So we basically looked at
Cool.
voltage-gated calcium gene expression, and we found that 94% of the CPG sites were hypermethylated, which if you look at it this way, hypermethylation, it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but basically when the body's exposed to radio frequency, like we were saying, it floods the body with calcium. So it's exciting uh, those genes. And basically what we found with Blushield is the down regulated that. So when people were tested before and after, they found that there was a hypermethylation of all the
Before and after how long time?
Well, it was a 12-week study. So within, let's say 12 weeks, we show that, I don't have the evidence that it happened sooner than that. We suspect that it happened sooner than that, but the actual study length showed that within like 12 weeks, we had this 94%, and this is over 204 sites. So this is huge, and this is correlated with these sites were connected to the ATP potassium channels as well, not just the calcium channels. So it's that was a surprising find. We also found statistically significant data regarding heart rate variability, neurocognitive function, so people's processing speed, of course, which makes sense. Thinking about the neurons in the brain, the voltage-gated calcium channel, obviously it's going to affect heart, sleep patterns. It's going to affect how you, and we have all of this written up more of in a long form on our website. But yeah, heart rate variability was a big one. Sleep, blood glucose.
Blood glucose, interesting. Obviously, it's also can cause spikes of glucose. When I wore this constant glucose monitor, I found that my glucose spikes not only after food, it also spikes after some emotions, like when I'm even excited in a good way, it still recognizes, our body recognizes it as a distress sometimes. Even eustress can cause spikes of glucose. So it's not surprising, and it's obvious kind of that exposure to EMFs can cause glucose spikes, and in long term, it also can cause insulin resistance.
Right.
And it's interesting that you mentioned 12 weeks, you said? Well, so I have heard, and I probably even found it on your website, at your blog, that there will be some time for EMFs detox. And our body can feel kind of the same way as we detox from whatever microbiome we just rid of all parasites, fungi, yeast. And the same if we do detox for heavy metals. So the same will be with EMFs detox. Once we start use these Blushield devices at home and portable, most likely people who were really exposed to a lot of EMFs, like me, being here in such an area with many towers, people will feel some, I don't know, maybe even more tired than usually, right? Because detox going on
Sometimes.
in their body. Yeah, it needs time. It needs time. Do you know some cases and how people feel during this time, and how we can help our body to detox from EMFs? How we
Sure.
support?
This is a good opportunity to add more clarity that I don't think I've ever really talked about in depth, but so that phenomenon is real. But it's not like you're detoxing something physical. You're not really removing, detoxing EMF. Some people might get in their brain like, I'm exposed to EMF and I need to detox and get it out of my body. When we're exposed to electromagnetic radiation that's incoherent on a long-term basis, it just makes the body less efficient at these detoxification pathways like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, liver detoxification. It impedes our endogenous antioxidant systems like glutathione, superoxide dismutase. There's these natural processes by which your body removes toxins, heavy metals, pesticide residues, all these things that we're exposed to that aren't electromagnetic. So what we found is when some people, a percentage of Blushield users, when they put Blushield into their environment, there's usually a 12, like you mentioned earlier, it uses the principle of sympathetic resonance. So it's like tuning into that radio station. Your body gets entrained over time. And it's like a background signal that's kind of always pulsing throughout the day. And your body will basically, when the body has surplus immune function, the body's really intelligent and amazing at diverting power where needed to keep us alive and keep us in balance. Even if we're eating really bad food, not exercising a lot, the body's really amazing. It has all these fail safes essentially. So when people bring Blushield in the environment, they tend to have surplus immune power because the body's no longer perceiving EMF as a threat and not mounting an immune response to it all of the time. So it reallocates power back to where it needs to. And for some people, it's detoxification. Some people feel a little bit more tired and actually need to rest more. We're in a day society where we're always on input mode and consuming versus, checking out. That's why, what you were saying to made me think of meditation, why that's so important, because even your thoughts, your emotions, everything can affect insulin, everything can affect, how you hold weight on your body, how your metabolism is operating. People that want to live better insulin controlled would be best served to learn Qigong practices and meditation, because that's pretty much one of the main key things that you can do as an individual that doesn't require anything external. So we need to work externally and internally. So this external application of Blushield is just creating kind of something that you don't have to focus your conscious awareness on all the time. You can enhance your biofield. You can enhance how your body's operating with your consciousness. However, it's nice to have something that's kind of working in the background that you don't really have to think about. So some people feel, a little bit lower energy. Some people have headaches for a few days, but then once past that, it's kind of like a new calibration. It's a new normal of how they feel on a day-to-day basis within navigating this world of electromagnetic stressors.
Yeah, so these technologies, these devices, they can help us bring our body to balance. And then our body just starts to heal itself using this innate intelligence, because our body doesn't need to be taught how to heal itself. It just can heal itself. It knows what to do. And yeah, right. Yeah, once we started to talk about toxicity, not only from EMFs, how does heavy metal toxicity amplify the effect of EMFs? How does it connect it? And yeah, we can guess because conductivity increases if we have more heavy metals inside our body. And let's make sure that we understand that we are talking about those toxic metals, because not all metals are actually toxic, or many metals we need in our body. And we're only talking not about heavy metals, because heavy metals is not precise, not correct. Toxic metals, those like arsenic, mercury, something else. I don't remember name, but yeah, those toxic metals.
Heavy metals are, we need trace amounts of certain heavy metals for sure.
Yes,
obviously.
yes.
That's, I think, self-evident to most people that study health and wellness and minerals and stuff like that. So, but yeah, they do make you more conductive. But I mean, iron is in your blood. If you have good iron levels, that's very, so the principle is that, the great example, if you look at like something like the Therify, which is a high-powered, it's a scalar instrument, but that creates these really powerful healing bioactive plasma fields and time reverse waves. When you're in that field and you're creating a electrostatic charge with a Tesla coil or a true air core transformer, you don't want any metal in the environment. Metal will warp plasma fields. It'll act as a ground. So if you have like a hot wire touching metal, that's the path of least resistance. So our body is more conductive. This is the same principle why you don't want to sleep on a spring mattress. If we can use like natural latex, that's going to be better, because these coils, every coil has a specific tuning. So we're basically like amplifying. And that's typically, I'm a huge fan of grounding naturally. If you can, touch the earth.
Me too. Every morning I go do my exercising and earthing at the same time, barefoot. So it changes a lot.
Yeah. But when we look at technology, as far as these grounding sheets, grounding blankets, that can be problematic in the sense that even though it's grounding out at lightning
Mm.
speed to the earth, if you're plugging in your house, your body completes a circuit with the house. So all the dirty electricity, all of everything that's in the house is basically being amplified and run through your body before it grounds out. So that creates a lot of
Mm.
distortion, but also it's an aerial. So you like got to look at surface area of this conductive material, and it can actually pull EMF closer to the body. So if you have a high coherent beneficial EMF field, that's really good if you want to attract it to your body. But most people are using like grounding sheets to
Yeah, yeah.
basically, discharge the buildup in the system. But if you can run a bare wire out your window and directly to the ground, or sleep on the ground, or walk barefoot on the earth, that's obviously ideal for all the benefits that it's known for. But these are just examples where metals inside the body and metals that we use in our daily life, whether it's springs on a mattress or a grounding sheet, this is where they can sort of be problematic because you want to retain a coherent charge. I mean, that's why you do qigong. That's why you do exercise. It's like you're building electromotive force within the cells of the body, and the body can move in and out of really nasty incoherent fields fairly easily if the body has its compass set, if it has kind of this, if you're grounded internally and you can actually, strengthen your own biofield through these different methods. And this is where Blushield kind of helps, and I think would be a beneficial technology if we weren't in uh, a bad EMF environment constantly. It would be a longevity technology because it's giving the body surplus charge
Yeah.
and coherence at the
Mm.
cellular level.
Coherence on a cellular level, it's very important. Let's repeat it. Yeah, coherence on cellular level. So yeah, we basically make our cells more healthy.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Well, kind of this heavy metal detox and EMFs detox, it goes together, right? So if we do heavy metal detox, what we can take, like what supplements do you recommend?
There's several. I'm the biggest fan of like consuming seaweed on a daily basis. Seaweeds are nice because it's one of the
Seaweed.
few
Okay.
natural
Mm-hmm,
substances
mm-hmm,
that detoxifies the gut lining and
mm.
the heavy metals in the body, but also by the process of using alginates. But it also is remineralizing at the same time. So you're getting this like double directional type effect. You're remineralizing the body with good beneficial nutrients that support the thyroid and pituitary and all these things, but you're also, lining the gut with these things that will trap, lead and all these different heavy metals that we're exposed to. We
How
also have
about zeolite? Zeolite. Zeolite, natural
steel.
mineral.
Yeah, a lot of people like that. I don't use it much personally. If I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
something kind of more aggressive, if I feel like I need that, and you got to remember, a healthy diet is detoxifying. If your systems are all working, the body will remove a lot of the stuff. I tend to use, C60 carbon, or I'll use the EDTA
Uh-huh.
suppositories, which
You
is
mean you mean oil?
Mhm,
C60 oil? Yeah,
mhm,
I know
yeah.
this company. I know this
So
oil.
yeah, there's
Mm-hmm.
a few companies that produce it, but
Mm-hmm.
using that, and then we have some EDTA, the magnesium dipotassium one, not the calcium ones. I'm not a big fan of the calcium versions,
Can you
but
spell once again your supplement?
yeah, it's called metacardium. So
Mm-hmm.
it's removing heavy metals and radioactive isotopes, and it's a suppository, so it gets right into the bloodstream. But it also removes dystrophic calcium. So we can
Uh-huh.
also balance out calcium levels from voltage-gated calcium expression with, magnesium, and I also like high quality chaga. Full spectrum
Mm-hmm.
extract chaga is really, really good,
Mushrooms.
helping remove heavy metals, and it's great for the stomach and the gut and blood sugar and just a whole bunch of other things. It's an adaptogen, so
Yeah.
it regulates and normalizes physiochemical processes in the body. But yeah, the zeolite, there's high aluminum, but a lot of that does not get redeposited in the body because it's trapped pretty well. It's like shilajit. If it's just really hard to find like really pure and consistent, like the mineral strata in the earth, whether you're going up high up in the mountains and trying to source some kind of mineral pitch like shilajit, or you're trying to get zeolite, um, nothing is really consistent and even in nature. So you're getting some zeolites that are really good and have really great chelative properties. Others have a lot of aluminum trapped in it, so it's not going to really chelate to a super substantial degree. Particle size is a thing that you got to look at. So there's all these different levels to analyze. Zeolites are cool and great and everything. I've used it topically to, detoxify tattoos, making a paste and using it once a week, 4 weeks to remove heavy metals out of tattoos and stuff like that back 20 years ago. Um, so
That's
it's
cool.
useful for sure, but I mean, I try and teach people that like diet can go a long way, like using herbs like schizandra, chaga, using carbons, using seaweeds. Those are kind of the old school traditional. And look at the longest lived cultures on the planet. I mean, they're eating seaweed like 100 grams wet weight a day. And it's really significant because you're boosting all of these organ systems and glands, but you're also getting a nice level of toxin removal as well.
So we can find some supplements on your website, and along with devices, you also offer some supplements which can improve this detoxification process,
Mhm.
including EMF detox and heavy metal toxicity as well. Well,
Yep.
now I want to finalize our talk with explanation. Which devices would you suggest to purchase? And as far as I understand, there are two main categories: at home use and portable. And
Correct.
obviously, we need both because at home we probably need more powerful devices, and just to go, we need as well some protection, maybe with smaller portable devices.
Yeah.
So let's explain how we choose the power, because there are different power of your devices from smaller to highest power, how we choose.
Yeah, absolutely. The way we made it super simple is when you go to blueshield.com, and that's Blueshield with no E. There's a start here function where it will give you a link to antennasearch.com where you, like you said that you did, you search how many antennas are in your area. In most larger cities, it's, like New York, where you have like 300, 400 towers within a 2 mile radius. You're probably going to need the most powerful systems we put out. We wanted to also make it, accessible. So we made some more entry level units. So if you're in a more rural area and you have like two or three
Mm.
towers within a 2 mile radius or something like that, you can really get away with a lot lower power of a system. And it's definitely more cost effective. But future proofing yourself is also good. If you can afford to get the highest end Blue Shield, that's nice because they're likely not going to stop putting towers up. So it's just
Yeah, do
really
you
good.
suggest to purchase like two or three smaller devices, or it's better to purchase one powerful device and place it at one plug-in at your home? Or maybe if we have many rooms at our home, maybe we need just few smaller devices. What is better? What is better
That's a
solution?
I like that question because we've had people anecdotally say that they've taken two plugins, which is more of an entry
Uh,
level suite, and plug it in their house and they claim to get better benefits. But what we understand of the physics of it, one times one equals one. You can spread the field out and get more coverage area, but it's not going to give you more power.
I
We
see,
talk
I
about
see.
scalar
So
energy.
more area, but not so powerful protection, right? I
Correct. Yeah.
see.
Because it's
So
all about where the field's generated and how strong that is at its inception and charge collapse.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, true, true. Does it interfere with Wi-Fi signal? Because I still want to have my high-speed internet. So
Yeah, no, it
from
absolutely.
user perspective, like I need to
No,
do
that
it. Of course.
that's part of the issue with EMF protection, that I've looked at for years. It's like anything
Yeah,
that would actually